Alright everyone, I got the size N power plug in. I scratched it a teeny bit putting it in, but it's in there. I didn't use the washer, the split washer. That thing's not coming out. I didn't use the split washer for a reason. This thing is not coming out, and I can put a little bit of super glue on it. I'm about to solder some wires to it so that I have some power leads. I'm going to do the inside positive and the outside negative. That means I have to do the same thing on this jack. Okay? And I got to go find a brass rod to fit this jack before I wire this. But inside positive, outside negative should work fine. I still have the lights testing over here. You can see them on the periphery. I'm going to let them run for 4 or 5 hours today before I button this thing up. Simply because once I glue this thing together, I'm not taking it apart. And if these LEDs are going to burn out, they're going to burn out really soon. So it's just kind of a check to make sure everything's fine. Alright, so I'm going to do some soldering work. I still have probably the perfect amount of my wire left because I don't need too much here. This is just a short jumper to get it to the earlier wiring I did, and then that leaves me enough for the stand. I got my 2C battery thing. I got it at 50% off. So I got my 2C battery holder. 2C batteries will power this thing for quite some time. And I got my stand. I just need to figure out what I'm going to do with the stand. But everything's starting to go together on the Cylon. Once I get this thing ready for primer, I'm going to concentrate on the TIE Fighter. And just paint them both together. They're both similar colored paint, similar colored paint schemes. Why not paint them together? Just my way of looking at it. Alright, so I will be back in a little bit. This is, again, very quick work. Putting these two leads on there. And putting in, I don't have my light turned on. Putting in the stand. We're getting near stand time, which is happiness. One thing that worries me is this thing does not fit in the paint booth. So that's going to be a bit of trouble. So let me go. I'm going to get this wired up and soldered up. And I'm going to get some shrink wrap on these so I can shrink it up once I put the wiring on it. I'll be back in a little while. Alright everyone, I got most of the wiring done, not all of it. One small problem, I thought I had a short. I couldn't trace the short very easily. Turns out it was in my soldering of the jack, which is the proper place for me to have a short. Everything's fine on the inside of the ship, but I cut the heat shrink tubing off here. Two ways to fix that. I can cut the wires, put new tubing on, resolder the wires together, or 5-minute epoxy. This stuff is, well, it's an insulator. So I gooped some on. And it also allowed me to glue down the jack. So the jack is glued in place very, very well. Nothing's moving here. I'm just making sure everything's coated up as this stuff sets. It's got a good coating of epoxy on there. There's going to be no shorts or anything. It's good to go. That's going to be cured up in a few minutes. I'm letting the LEDs burn just a bit more before I seal everything up, because I know this connection is good. I'm using a wall wart right now to power it. And I'm moving the wall wart everywhere, so it's not the wiring on the inside. Yeah, you see that? That is, well, it's not the wiring in the ship, I don't think. Oh boy. I just epoxied that jack. That is not a good sign. Yep. The short is here. What I just epoxied, so I'm going to have to get a new jack. Oh, yowzers. Ah! boy, this round of video editing is going to be fun. This camera just keeps flaking on and off on me. I just looked up and it was recording something it shouldn't have. Well, I'm watching TV and I can't have the TV sounds on YouTube. Found the short. It's in this one right here. See it? It's not in the one I was worried about. I can probably fix that. That is a good thing that it's there. Okay? It just means I didn't solder it well. Now when this glue cures up, that thing may not move at all. Because this epoxy is good stuff. I mean, I'll give it 5 or 10 minutes. I can fix that, but I have to remove the epoxy. Easy way to remove that epoxy is to burn it. One of these. But it'll catch fire if I'm not careful, and I don't need a fire in the house. Plus the fumes from that epoxy are going to be toxic. So I'm going to have to do it in the spray booth and vent that outside. Or just take it outside and do it. But I know where the short is now, and that is a wonderful, wonderful thing. Okay? So I got to get going. I got to be somewhere in a few minutes. We'll resume in a little while. Alright everyone, I got the two halves glued together. The central supports are glued together. I haven't gone around the edges and glued them yet, and that's what I'm doing next. That's going to be a storm of clamps. Kind of like this, and I need to go get the clamps. I might have to use the littler clamps. One thing about this model is there's a lot of clamping on it. An awful lot. More than I'm used to with most models. But then again, you know, it's just the nature of the model. Some need clamps, some don't. Okay. And we have a BB sneaking in the room. Don't we?
I'm not wearing pajamas.
I know. We'll take care of that in a minute, okay? You're supposed to be getting ready for bed, kiddo.
Yeah, but we're gonna do the model.
Well, Mommy said you're gonna be ready for bed first. Okay?
Okay.
Alright, well, I'll be back in a little bit. BB's gonna come work on Bear Guy for a little bit tonight before she goes to bed. Okay, just like the wings, I strongly suggest that you go around and glue all the joints all the way around the model. Around all the edges. Just glue them together. Why? Because, well, you hear it creaking? As I move it, all that creaking will go away as soon as I get this done. And when that's all done, then I can look at it and see if I need to do any seam filling. Because I suspect I have a little bit to do. Oh boy. Got a pretty bad gap right there. I thought I took care of that gap. No, it can be clamped. Okay. Well, it's time to start clamping and gluing. I'll be at it.